Most people don't realize this, but your brain has been lying to you about who you're supposed to be. There's a psychological pattern called normative social influence. It's the invisible force that makes you shape your personality, your choices, even your dreams around what you think others expect. And once you understand it, you'll see why you've spent years trying to become someone else and why it never quite works. But here's where it gets even worse. You're not just trying to fit in, you've actually been trained to abandon yourself. From childhood, you were rewarded for being agreeable, for being easy, for being the version of you that didn't make adults uncomfortable. And now your brain treats self-abandonment as a survival skill. Here's the painful part. Psychology says that by the time you're 25, your personality has been sculpted mostly by avoidance. Avoiding rejection, avoiding conflict, avoiding being seen as too much. You think your personality is you, but most of it is just a collection of defense mechanisms dressed up as identity. The truth you're not ready for. You're not supposed to be the person you've become. You're supposed to be the person you were before the world told you who to be. And this next part explains why your life hasn't changed yet, even if you agree with everything I'm saying.
You've probably tried to be authentic before. Maybe you changed your style, spoke your mind, started a passion project, but eventually you slipped back. Why? Because your brain has something called the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is your brain's belief that everyone is watching you and judging you. But here's the reality. Most people are too worried about their own spotlight to care about yours. You stop yourself from being uncommon because you imagine a level of scrutiny that doesn't exist. You're performing for an audience that's not even paying attention. So you live a smaller life to avoid judgment from people who aren't thinking about you. That's the trap. You sacrifice your uncommon self for an imaginary jury. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. The discomfort you feel when you're different isn't dangerous. It's growth. And you've been interpreting it as a sign to stop. If that hits you, good. It means you need it. Because the people who stay stuck are the ones who keep running from the feeling of becoming. Let me give you an example. I worked with someone. Let's call her Mia. On paper, she had everything. Stable career, solid relationships, family approval. But she felt hollow. Every morning, she put on the version of herself that was appropriate. At work, she was agreeable. In her family, she was the reliable one. She told herself, this is just being responsible. But inside, she was an artist, a weird, intense, unconventional artist. She kept that part of her in the basement. And every year she kept it hidden, her body started to signal the cost. Anxiety, insomnia, a constant sense of, I'm wasting something. That's the price of being uncommonly you, but refusing to live it. Here's the part nobody wants to admit. You might actually be afraid of finding out who you really are. Because if you discover your uncommon self and you still fail or still feel alone, then you lose your excuse. As long as you stay in the cage of fitting in, you can blame the cage. But if you step out and life doesn't magically fix itself, then what? This is called identity foreclosure in psychology. It's when you commit to a role, good student, nice person, team player, just to avoid the uncertainty of exploring who you might become. And that foreclosure is why most people die with their uncommon self still locked inside. But here's where it gets dangerous. If you keep playing it safe, the gap between who you are and who you're pretending to be will keep growing. And that gap doesn't just steal your happiness, it steals your health. Chronic self-betrayal shows up as depression, burnout, that vague sense that you're watching your own life from outside. Your uncommon self isn't a luxury, it's a biological necessity.
So how do you actually become the person you're supposed to be? Here's the mental trick that actually works. Stop trying to find your authentic self. Start releasing the versions you've outgrown. One simple practice. Take 10 minutes tomorrow morning, write down 3 situations where you feel the most drained. In each one, ask, what part of me am I suppressing here? Just name it. I suppress my opinions at work. I suppress my humor around this friend. I suppress my ambition in my family. Naming it breaks the autopilot. Once you see where you're hiding, you can choose to stop hiding. Why does this work? Because psychology shows that self-awareness alone disrupts unconscious patterns. When you bring the suppressed part into consciousness, your brain can no longer pretend it's just how you are. You start to realize, oh, I've been choosing to shrink here, and I can choose differently. You don't need to quit your job or burn bridges. You just need to let one uncommon piece of you show up in one space today, then another tomorrow. Bliss isn't one dramatic transformation. It's the cumulative relief of finally being real.
Beautiful. Here's the truth you've been avoiding. One more time, because it matters. You've been given permission to be someone different your entire life. You just haven't given it to yourself. The world is full of people waiting for a signal to be themselves. If you go first, you give them permission too. History doesn't just remember the people who are different, it remembers the people who stayed different when it was easier to conform. You think being uncommonly is risky? The real risk is waking up at 60, realizing you played a role your whole life and never knowing what it felt like to be you. Uncommonly isn't bliss because it's easy, it's bliss because it's true. And truth, even hard truth, settles something in your soul that pretending never can. Here's what I want you to do. Today, choose one moment to be uncommonly you. Not for applause, not for rebellion, just to remember what it feels like to belong to yourself. If this hit you, share it with someone who needs permission to stop hiding, stop asking who you're supposed to be, and start being who you are.